All right, everybody ready?
Yep.
We'll call this meeting to order, Ripon City Council special meeting, November 23rd, 2021. We don't have a roll call in here, but you want to do a roll call, Lisa?
Councilmember Leo Zuber,
Here.
Mike Restusha,
Present.
Vice Mayor Dean Euchre,
Here.
Mayor Daniel DeGraff.
Here. All right, moving into public discussion, we'll open up public discussion for anything not on the agenda. I'm guessing no one is here to speak on items not on the agenda. But is there anything, nothing on, came in earlier? So with that, we'll move into the topic for discussion tonight. And next, we'll turn it over to Kevin to introduce what we got going on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight, staff is looking for some direction from the City Council on the next phase of the process to make an appointment to the vacant City Council seat. As you know, November 9th, do you mind bringing up the presentation, Hunter? Thank you. As you know, November 9th, the City Council approved the public notice to go out to advertise the vacant position along with the application. Those applications were due November 18th at 5:30. We received 9 applications, and I listed the applicants here, and this is really, the order that you see here is really determined by the order we received the applications. So tonight, we wanted to talk to the City Council about the format of the interviews and talk about the process to make a selection. So we'll get into that in just a second, but just looking ahead after this, originally we had December 2nd as the date of the interviews. We didn't realize when we set that it is also Taste of Ripon. So I know I had talked to a couple council members. They indicated December 7th they were available. So I didn't put on here December 7th as the date of the interviews, if that worked for everyone.
I just didn't want drunk people rolling in after Taste of Ripon in the meeting.
I'm gonna be in Vegas,
December 7th?
2nd.
Oh, 2nd. Well, there you go. You weren't even gonna be here.
It's my wife's birthday, I have to take her to Vegas.
So,
So
there we go.
if December 7th worked, or the council get back to staff
For me,
if there's a conflict, so, okay, so we'll leave that. So that, the plan for December 7th would be the interviews, and to go through the selection process, as we're gonna talk about here in just a minute. And then the appointment is planned to happen at the December 14th, the regular city council meeting. So on here, just to help with the discussion tonight regarding the interviews, I put 4 areas that we discussed last time when we had a vacancy, and I also put below that the direction from the city council. So the first area was, is there a desire by the city council to interview all 9 applicants, or is there a preference to develop a short list? When we did this last time, the council indicated they wanted to interview all the applicants who met the minimum requirements, which the minimum requirements are 18 years old, live within the city limits, and registered to vote within the city of Ripon. So, sounds like that's the same.
Yeah.
The second area is how long would you like to schedule the interviews? I'll jump ahead to the next one as well before you answer that. At least what we did last time, we provided an opportunity for each of the applicants to do a 3-minute opening statement. And then after that, it was a Q&A with the city clerk reading the questions and the applicants to respond to those. So with that kind of format, we had put in there 20 minutes for each applicant. This could be very short, very long, depends on how you would like to do it, but we had put in here about 20 minutes. I think when we did this last time, we had 30 minutes, a little bit longer, but we got through those a little bit faster too, so.
Did you have a closing statement on the last time you did this?
We could have,
I'm just asking, I don't see it.
we could have it, and we could add it to this if you would like a closing statement.
When we
I
did
think
it
that would be
last time,
fair.
did we take one question through all of them, and then another question through all of them, or did we do all the questions for one, then all the questions for 2, then, that's how we did, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't
In fact,
remember that.
last time, everybody was outside of the room except for just the applicant.
That's
They
right.
all weren't in there.
That's right.
So they couldn't hear the questions because it'd be unfair to the first person.
Yeah, and just so you know too, this is a letter that we're planning to send to all to the applicants, which really describes the process that evening. You know, that, we're gonna have them all arrive 15 minutes ahead of the start of the meeting. They're gonna check in with the deputy city clerk. And then the first thing we're gonna do is do a drawing of the names to see the order of the interviews. Following that, we're gonna ask them all to wait in the conference room until it is their time to be interviewed. To protect the integrity of the process, we're asking them to stay off their electronic devices, so there's no perception that they're getting questions.
Interesting, I did some research on that, and some cities did the same thing, because with YouTube and
Right.
with the CV in public, there was concerns that you would get text to
Right.
questions, so they actually asked people to give their phones up while they sat there.
Yeah, and just, you know, and here we drafted this with 20 minutes for the interviews and explaining the process. And then, you know, obviously after the interview, welcome to stay in the chambers or do what they like. So, just so you know, staff is planning based off the direction from council tonight to send this to each of the applicants tomorrow.
Yeah, and just, I mean, 9 candidates with 20 minutes apiece is a minimum. If we take the 20 minutes, that's 3 hours
That's
minimum.
3 hours.
So,
It'll be
yeah.
a 4-hour night.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'll be a long meeting, and I mean, the last candidate's gonna be sitting in the room for 2.5 hours,
Yeah.
twiddling their thumbs, but,
right. So that's a good point, Mayor. That was part of the 20-minute kind of thought too. You know, we're not trying to make this a 5 hours of,
Maybe we should bring some alcohol in.
we might need it.
Get paid overtime.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, no, I mean, I don't know what you guys think, we can all chime in on, but I think, you know, 20 minutes is probably sufficient. I wouldn't wanna go any less than 20 minutes, I don't think. I think to get a fair representation of where someone stands on the issues, 20 minutes is a minimum for me, but.
Well, what kind of, we don't even know what the questions are gonna be yet.
Well,
how
but
many there
even if
are.
you use the time limit that we use here, which is 3 minutes, that's still 7 questions.
Right.
That's quite a
correct.
few.
That's right.
Yeah, it gives time, but you can, 20 minutes goes by pretty quick too when you're trying to interview. So I mean, if you take a standard job interview, that's gonna be
Yeah.
an hour-long minimum, right? And
Well,
how much,
Well, the questions are gonna be open-ended, they're not gonna be yes/no questions, I would think.
yeah,
And I'm an ex-union guy, so after 2 hours, we're gonna have to take a break.
I agree.
ex-union, you said.
Well, I still believe in it though.
I'm a union buster, so let's go.
So with that, if there,
Might be other reasons than union membership.
Kevin, I would put a closing, if you're giving
Okay.
them an opening, I'd put a closing in there too.
Okay.
Kinda like they can summarize everything quick.
yeah, maybe we'll do it a little quicker than, maybe a 1-minute closing statement,
yeah.
something where they could just close
Yeah.
off and,
Any final thoughts?
yeah. Yep,
So a lot of it's gonna be on Lisa, that if you ask a question, it doesn't get answered, you're gonna have to repeat the question, cause I can, you know, I mean, sometimes you answer what you think you heard, and it's not the question.
Yeah, we're informal tonight. Do you have somebody with their hand out, with that in the audience?
Oh,
Yeah,
Mr.
happy to,
Bartlett.
sorry, yeah.
Yeah, one idea, maybe you have 3 groups of 3, everyone shows up before the meeting starts to find out what the order of the speakers is.
So you don't have to sit up there 3 hours, yeah.
Then the second group, 4 through 6, shows up on the next hour, and then the final group, 7 through 9.
Might not be a bad idea.
That sounds good, except for if you're watching
Yeah.
YouTube, you'll get all the questions.
yeah.
Or someone sitting in here could be listening to all the questions if you're in the second group. I mean, and that, I guess that was the point of having everybody come. It's kind of uncomfortable to do that. It's not fun for the last people. They gotta sit there the whole time, but it's the
Yeah.
fairest process.
Yeah.
Well,
Is December
I would like to think that you could and kind of self-police that, but,
Or is it Tuesday?
I don't know.
It is Tuesday, it is Tuesday.
Yeah.
How much advantage do you get from getting the questions a half hour early? I don't know. If
Put
you
a
don't know what
TV
you
in
think on the issues, then
Probably doesn't even matter.
maybe it wouldn't matter, but.
It might matter.
Well, it's kind of unfair to the people that come first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would guess after the interviews, most people are gonna stick around because it is the selection process afterwards, so I would assume,
Yeah, I think
one way or the other, they're gonna be here for,
I would wanna be
Three.
first, just maybe, I would wanna stand before a group that has had this they're on their ninth person. You know, it's like being the last interview of the day, it's brutal,
It is,
because they've already heard all the answers,
but it's an important thing to do.
yeah.
It is.
so with that, if there's no other comments related to the interview and the interview process and the letter, we could talk about the selection process if you're ready for that.
I've got no further questions. Anybody else?
No.
No?
You print that?
Hmm?
Did you come print? I did. But I wasn't trying to send it blank.
So this slide has a lot on it. There has been some minor tweaks compared to how we did this. The last vacancy, I think it's improved. With that being said, I'll go through here and happy to answer any questions as they come up. So the first thing that would be planned is a ballot will be handed out by the city clerk to each of the council members. And at that point, you would write down your recommended appointee, and that would go back to the city clerk. If there is one applicant that receives 3 ballots through that, essentially what we're calling a first round, the city clerk would announce that name as the individual to be recommended or directed staff to include in the resolution to appoint on December 14th.
That night after all the interviews.
Yeah, so they wouldn't be appointed that night.
Right.
You would just direct staff to
But you
prepare the
don't- right,
resolution.
They'd be selected.
Yeah, that night, yes. So that's essentially the first round. If there is not an individual or one applicant that receives 3 ballots, then at that point, each council member will turn in their overall rankings to the city clerk. And the way we did this last time is after every applicant comes through and does an interview, you re-rank them. 1 through whatever, after the first 3, you would rank them 1 through 3. The next one, you would rank them 1 through 4, and at the last person, you would rank them 1 through 9. And those rankings would be turned into the city clerk, where she would put an overall score together for all of the applicants.
You're gonna give us that form
Yes,
that starts with 1, then 2, then 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're right, I was just gonna say, it's a lot easier when you have that form in front of you, it's a lot less daunting than
No
when you're
kidding.
yeah.
sitting there trying to.
You're not have to reorganize them all in your own head every time.
I
It
can
does it for you.
Yeah.
I don't remember it, but I kind of can envision
just a
what you're
bunch of
talking
blocks.
about.
Yeah, it looked like a little Tetris.
And there's names on them.
No, then you just write the names in each time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're not gonna know ahead of time.
Well,
Oh, that's right. We wouldn't know.
you could, you could write the names, but they could be printed after we draw the numbers. Or
There's-
we could draw the numbers
That's true.
beforehand and have the organization of them, so the forms could be printed before the meeting.
But when are we drawing? You're drawing that night?
Yeah, but we could have the computer there and put them in, and we could,
You only need to print 4 sheets of paper.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Take 5 minutes to have it done.
if you have papers.
So, based off that scoring, what Lisa puts together, she will publish the top 2 applicants. So if there's a tie, you may get more than the 2 applicants. So essentially, it's the top 2 scores, and whatever applicants are the top 2 scores. We've talked a lot about this process and the intent of the process, and what we've tried to do with it is really develop a consensus for the city council. You're taking 9 and you're trying to get to 1. So this isn't to make the selection, it's just to help develop that consensus. So, like I said, once Lisa scored these, she'll provide the council the top 2, the applicants with the top 2 scores, probably is the best way to say that.
So if 4 people get the same score, we're gonna get 4.
Exactly. Yeah, or if you,
Or if you got 3 people that have the top score, you get 3. If you got a first place and a second place, but they weren't chosen in the first round, you only get 2.
You're gonna get either 2 to whatever.
Yeah, 2, 3, or
Right,
4.
but it's the top 2 scores,
Right.
whatever, if there's a tie, it's the top 2 scores. So you could get 2 people, 4 people, whatever that means.
Bottoms, these scores, right? Did you say?
Yeah, it's like
Well-
golf, it's like golf, the lowest
Yeah.
score is
The top ranking people with the
Yeah.
lowest scores, but if there's 4 people that have the same lowest score at the end of it, then those 4 people would go to a final ballot.
Yeah, so that develops a short list essentially for the council. So based off that short list, the plan is to do a second round of ballots. So Lisa would pass out a ballot, you would write the name down of the individual, and those get turned back into Lisa.
Individual, or you would do a one through, say there was 5 peoples that tied, would you do another 1 through 5?
I don't think there can be 5 people.
Why couldn't there be? One person wins and 4 people tie for second? That's 5.
I don't know that,
Think you can
I
only
don't,
have four,
I don't
because
know
if
that the
each one
numbers,
of us- If each one of us
Oh,
picks one
yeah,
person.
well, yeah.
that might be a possibility, though. You,
Yeah, Tom and I were playing with different ways of,
Scenarios.
yeah, playing out and just trying to think about all the what-ifs with this. You know, the most that we saw through the different scenarios was 4.
Yeah.
Yes.
If the top 2 scores are tied, are they the 2 finalists? Or do you go to
it's,
the 3rd place?
That would be
Yeah,
first and
so
second.
let's say there's 2 8s and 2 9s. Those would be the 8 and the 9 are the top 2 scores. So in that, you would get 4. The 2 8s and the 2 9s both would go. It's the
I thought
top
if
2
you had
scores.
2 that had the same score, they would just be those 2.
No,
Because the thing says it's the top 2 scores,
Right.
not the top 2 scoring. In other
Okay.
words,
I read that wrong then.
That's not how they keep track of golf. If I got 9, now you don't take first.
So you don't
Hey,
golf.
I don't care, whatever way you wanna do it,
well,
but, yeah.
and you could kind of, you know, the way that this is gonna work, well, once you get that, and maybe it is up to 4 people once you get that, you would do another round of ballots. And if one applicant gets 3 ballots, the process ends, and that would be the candidate, the applicant that is being recommended or staff directed to include in the resolution. If not, you could go back through that process one more time.
Well, instead of a second, just one name ballot, you could take the 4, say there's 4 candidates, and you could have everybody rank those 1 through 4. Because if you're voting on your number 1, they'd still be number 1, but then you could narrow it down, but take the top 2 out of that or something.
Right, and maybe you do that, if you pass the ballots and there's 3, you're just done. But if you don't get 3, you do one more ranking of your 1
You
through.
essentially just do a ranking of 1 through 4, and
Right.
then if there's 3 1s, then
Yeah, and then
that's
you
the
get,
one.
and then you get down to 2. And
Right.
then you do another ballot at 2.
Yeah.
So you're just, like we said, developing a consensus. You know, you may go from 9 to 4 to 2, and then at 2,
It's easier to approve an ordinance.
yes.
And when you got 2 and we can't decide we're 2-2, we flip a coin.
It's an option.
That's where the politics begin, right?
A coin flip is not random. Rochambeau, there you go.
I was thinking,
I wish.
bigger shot.
Yeah.
Huh?
I-
No, you don't want,
That's the worst advice I've given.
Yeah.
over the years.
You know, that would make
I don't
done
drink,
already.
so I wouldn't,
I
I'll
know
leave it
that
at
would
Yeah,
you.
you'd
make
be-
things easier.
Yeah, you can't appoint your successor if you're
I
not
get
here.
it. I
Basically,
agree,
Dean would
but,
be
you know,
making the appointment.
Yeah, and we
Maybe we
could,
can let him pick if it comes to
well,
it
as I
too.
recall, when we did this in 2014, it took 1 vote.
yes,
Yeah, it did.
it never got,
First vote,
Worked.
the person got 3 and that, we were done.
Yep.
yeah, we never tested the scoring system at that
Right.
time. But,
This will be tested this.
yeah, but I can add in here, that process to keep, you know, if you have 4 to go to 2, we could add those steps. And the other thing I would mention, you know, as the night goes on, you know, if you get to 2 and there's not a consensus, the one option for the council is, you know, to make a motion and continue to talk about it, or suspend the consideration until December 14th. With that, the 2 top applicants could come back to that meeting, make a presentation. It could be an assignment, you know, if you guys wanted to hear their views on growth or just a statement, however the council chooses to do them, but you could come back and have a short presentation being made at the December 14th and pick up where you left off. Really up to the council of how you would like to do that. But again,
I'd rather make it final.
yeah, and this, the objective with this is trying to get to a consensus. That's how this was designed, to try to get to that
You know you're
point.
gonna explain it again that night.
Right, but,
it'll all work out in the wash.
yeah, but,
As long as we got it
Well,
laid out.
I don't have a problem saying, I hope it gets worked out
Yeah.
somehow, because
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, the last thing I want is for this council to have to sit here and talk about two people
Yeah,
inside. I haven't read one place in this state where that's happened, that the result hasn't been
No,
a disaster.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll let them talk about each other.
Well, arm wrestle.
Tell me why the
We'll
other
put a
can't
little
visit.
ring out there and
So I'll add that, those additional steps to this in that
I
case
think
you
it
get
would
to
be
4.
better to have it in there so that we know what we're doing, rather than
Try to
try to figure it
after
out,
the
look, and have this
Right.
kind of a conversation that
Right.
night. That's
Yeah,
not
you wanna
good.
come in with the process set up and you follow a
Yes.
process, not making up the process
Right,
while you're going
yeah, I think
through
if you take
this.
the top 2 scores and then do it a second round, if that maximum gets, even if it's 5 people, then
Right.
you take the top 2 of the second ballot, and then when it's down to 2, then you have one more run at it, and if that doesn't work, then we gotta talk about it.
Right,
And then and then it just becomes a political matter, because the process has gotten you as far as it's gonna get you at
Yep.
that point, right?
right.
yeah, at some point, someone needs 3 votes.
And this will be part of our codified process as well.
Yeah, it could be a long codified process.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying.
The way, when we sat going over this, there was like, man, there's a lot of different possibilities, so.
Well, I would like to think that, given the, what I've seen of the applicants so far, if you get down to the point to where you're 2-2 on deciding between 2 people, you're probably not gonna have a bad option either way, so.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Does that help?
Give them a half a vote apiece, could give them a half a vote apiece, right. Have 6.
We're not the Brandon administration appointing more Supreme Court justices here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Any other comments? I can make that change, and I'll work that in, and we'll have this available December 7th.
December 7th.
Any questions? Do you have
Any questions, comments? Gary?
One idea, so if you're down to 2 people and the council splits, you could do some kind of each guy ranks each person 1 to 5. In other words, this is the best possible candidate, we could ever have. He's a 1, he's good, he's not perfect, he's a 2, he's a good candidate, he'll be a good council member 3. In other words, then you get a range of potential scores, you add them up, and you're very likely to get the winner. As a possible tiebreaker.
Tiebreaker, yeah.
He or she.
I'm using he in the
Generic.
Non-gender.
And she is not offended. And I would hope that instead of it being more, I think this would be a good person, it would be based on our responses to your questions on if that person is qualified for that position, instead of just a generic.
It could be over very quick, potentially.
Well,
But there's a lot of good qualified people though, too, so.
I
It's
know
not,
another
it's not a
question
debate,
in
though.
relationship to
In other words, it's not, right?
that I don't know if that's gonna be talked about tonight.
In terms of what?
Well, I think I read that this position would have to run for election in '22, and it would be a 2-year term.
Right.
Right.
So let's say, that person would have to run for a 2-year term, and then there's gonna be 2 other council members who are probably running for a 4-year term, which would be Mr. Estucia and Mr. Euchre, I believe.
Right.
So you have 3 incumbents running, and maybe you have another 3 or 4 people running against the.
It's a different election.
And let's say all the incumbents lose. How is it gonna be determined which person is gonna get the 2-year term, and which people are gonna?
Tom can
You-
explain that. He's different on
You
the
sign
ballot.
up to run. It's 2 things on the ballot. You're either gonna run for 2 or you're gonna run for 4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a breakdown.
It's, exactly, you have to pick your poison early.
And there's nothing to prevent the person who is appointed for a year to say, the heck with this, I'm running for 4.
Right.
maybe nobody will run for the
And
2 year.
nobody could run for the two-year term.
That's right.
Since it's at an at-large, it's an at-large
Correct.
election, so how do you determine who's getting the 2 years?
They pick it.
They get to
They-
pick when
they-
they apply.
They choose.
Yeah, it's a
You have to
complete, it's a, com-
decide when you sign up, I'm running for 2 or I'm running for 4.
What if nobody picks the 2?
Then we're
They're
right back
right
here
on.
again.
Yeah.
we appoint someone again for it.
Yep.
Somebody
Or
will
you
run.
can, or the
There's 9
council,
people
or the
running
council
now,
can
why
call
wouldn't
for a
anybody
special
run for
election.
it?
Yeah, or a special
But
election.
we're right back where we are now with that 2-year term.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, somebody who's smart would sit around in Lisa's office until 4:59 the day of, and then if nobody applied for the 2-year seat, fine, I'll jump.
Then you're in.
You're
Yeah,
in.
you'll have somebody.
There'll be
There'll be
somebody.
somebody,
There'll be somebody.
yeah, there will be.
Maybe Mike.
Yeah, I'm getting to that age.
I can only see ahead for 2 years. Anything else from me on the interviews or the selection process?
No.
Any other questions,
No, I think we got it.
comments?
Okay, staff will revise this letter with what we talked about tonight. I think the only change is the closing statement. We'll add that to this letter and we'll send this out tomorrow and,
I got one more thing.
yeah,
Maybe if we get down to 2 candidates, give each candidate, one of those 2 people, one more opportunity to make a final statement. Final. Before a second vote on the 2. Only if we can't, if it gets down to 2 and we can't, and it's
Yeah.
split 2-2, then give them a
and
chance
it's kind of
to.
what staff was saying too, you know, do a tiebreaker of some sort, you know, if it is a statement, or we could come up with a topic if you would like us to, you know, have one, we'll get with the questions, maybe we leave one question aside
Special question
in
for
that event
tiebreaker.
to ask, yeah, a tiebreaker question, so.
So I have a final question.
Okay, you
When-
can ask any more.
When do we develop the questions?
So we have a start with the ones from the last vacancy, and Tom and I's plan was to get input from the city council on those questions. You know, the intent of them is to make sure we're asking the questions that the council needs the feedback from to make a decision. So we do want to get that feedback from the council. So our plan was to meet with the council members and,
Individually? Okay.
yeah, and just get that feedback through that
And I would
process.
suggest that there'd be some questions you'd ask everybody, and then there would be some questions specific to each applicant, if that happens to.
If there's something you need to
Makes-
fill a gap on a application or something specific to them that makes sense or doesn't make sense for all the applicants.
We could, I mean, we could leave, you know, obviously, I think most questions are gonna be applicable to all applicants. If there is a question that you guys have come up with through reviewing their applications that you wanna clarify or something, I would
Yeah.
guess we could add
Oh,
that,
absolutely.
As long
Add
as
that
it
to
falls
that.
in within the 20 minutes.
yes.
It will.
You know, when you start to think about it, why couldn't you actually put all the questions out there and everybody can come prepared? It wouldn't matter where their slot was. If they didn't prepare themselves properly for the 7 questions, then that's on them. Yeah, I mean, it's just a thought. Because, you know,
I think,
I don't know if that makes sense or not, but.
The only way that makes sense is if they're all the same. But Mike's question throws that out the window.
Yeah.
And now, how do you put out customized questions? You can't. And in my mind, if you can't put some of them out, you don't put any of them
Yeah.
out.
I just think you'll get a better representation of what someone actually thinks if they have to think on their feet a little bit. Wanna make sure
Sort of like sitting.
they know
up
what they
here.
think.
Well, if you think
Not
about
Like
it,
a
just
job
canned
inter-
statements.
Like a job interview,
Yeah,
That's
though.
what it is. You don't have all the questions ahead of time.
Yeah, you get to learn about the person and, you know, how they respond to stressful situations and, you know, unknowns.
is this a stressful job?
We should make it comfortable, too. What did they do last time they got up at the podium?
I believe so.
It goes
Yeah.
pretty fast, though.
Yeah.
No, I know, as long as it's comfortable, I mean.
It's gonna be awkward either way, don't worry.
That's no different than sitting up here.
Yeah, having 5 people stare at you, right?
Yeah. You're lucky if all they're doing is staring at you.
They're texting their friends at home.
It is dark.
So if I'm profusely sweating, that won't bother you?
We'll have towels up there, water.
Now, we're just gonna turn the camera so it's facing you, so it's recorded.
Perfect. Well, I think we got what we need.
Yeah.
What time are we meeting on the 7th?
We were gonna check with the council on their availability, unless, we were thinking the same time, 5:30, unless there was a conflict anyone had.
I think
So that works, and I
usually have the
I
whole
would
day
prefer
set.
that, just so public can
Right.
have more opportunity to be here after work hours, so.
I have it 5:30, is that what we did, Len? That's
Yeah.
not right. I have 5:30 to 8:30, but I may not.
Okay.
So is it a public meeting? So public will be here?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
What should,
It'll be on YouTube and it'll be just like a normal meeting.
Kevin, should we program in like 5-minute breaks or 10-minute breaks for the council after end of each hour?
Yeah, what we did last time is, in the middle of it, there was a break, 10-minute break, in the middle, of the interview, so we'll program the same thing this next time,
5 minutes.
or 5.
Bring rolling.
hey, some of us old guys go to bed at 9 o'clock at night.
Yes, we do.
Let's sleep in.
Yes, we
Better
do.
get your
And get up
rest.
at 4.
Take a nap, stay up with the big kids.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Anything further? No? Got what you need?
Yeah.
Anything else here? No?
Nope.
Okay, well, that's it for tonight. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.